Hey guys, welcome back. So we're in part 3 of session 0, and we're going to be talking about classes today. We're not going to get into details on classes like we did not get into details on races. We're just going to give you a brief rundown so you have an idea of what each thing is. This again is for brand new players. Experienced players will probably find this boring as heck, but new players might find it interesting. And if you do, thumbs up it, like it, comment, whatever you like to do. Tell me you want more. And we'll get into some more detail on some of this stuff later. So let's talk about the classes. There are a number of classes in D&D, and we are only working out of the player's handbook. We're not working out of any extended material at this point, because remember, this is for new players and very simple, very easy to understand. We're not going to overwhelm you. So we'll start off with the Barbarian. He's a fierce warrior with a primitive background who can enter rage. Think of Conan the Barbarian. So when he gets into a fight, he rages, he gets mad. He can fight a lot longer than the average guy. Next, we'll be going on to the Bard. Let's go back. The Barbarians can use a multitude of weapons, and so you're not really restricted. You can use axes, hammers, swords, stuff like that. You can pretty much use any weapon as a Barbarian. Next, we're going to move on to the Bard. The Bard is an inspiring magician who uses his magic power with the combination of music to buff his friends, hurt the enemies, inspire the people around him, and so on and so forth. They do have a limited choices of weapons and stuff like that, limited armor, but all in all, pretty decent. They have decent spell selection. They can cast buffs, they can cast damage spells, and all that good stuff. So next we're moving on to the Cleric. The Cleric is a priestly champion who wields divine magic in service of a higher power. Yes, Clerics are basically the priestly guys who run around and heal people. There are Clerics that do not do that, but for this example we're just going to stick with that because we're not going to get into details. Next is the Druid. The priest of the old faith, wielding powers of nature, Mother Nature type stuff. Moonlight, plant growth, fire, lightning, and adopting animal forms. Druids are nature, tree-hugging type folk. That's not a negative to tree huggers. That's what Druids do. They love the nature, they love the wild. They take a neutral stance on things that don't have anything to do with the wild. They were ferocious fighters when it comes to protecting the wild, though. So yeah, Druids, they have limited choices of weapons, usually non-metal, because they like all natural stuff. And so there you are. They do cast spells of nature. They do have some spell casting, so they can cast healing, food creation, and stuff like that. They can be very good offensive magic users, or defensive, or even healing. So there you are. Next we move on to the Fighter. The Fighter is just what it sounds like. He's a master of martial combat. Skilled with a variety of weapons and armor. Pretty much the Fighter can see it, he can put it on, wear it, use it, fight with it, kill things with it, or defend his loved ones with it. So next we're going on to Monk. Monk is a master of martial arts, harnessing the power of the body in pursuit of physical and spiritual perfection. Yes, Buddhist monks, monk. The quiet, bald guys that dress up in a little bit of robes, that's pretty much what a monk is. Obviously, in this world, in this setting, you can make a monk whatever you want, but generally they don't wear any kind of armor. They don't use most kinds of weapons. They're very simple weapons, or if they use weapons, most of the time they're just bare knuckling it. And so there you are. Monks are pretty thoughtful and pretty interesting classes. They actually are really fun. They have some bonuses when you get to higher levels, but again, we're not talking about that. We're going to talk about short-term stuff. Next, we're moving on to Paladin, a holy warrior. Fighter with like priest abilities. Something like that. Probably not as good straight up in a battle as a fighter in most circumstances, but a much more utility person than a fighter. They do have some spells, and then they get bonuses from their faith. We're going to move on to the Ranger, a warrior who uses martial prowess and nature magic to combine combat threats on the edges of civilization. Rangers are scouts. They like to go out and do the wandering out in the middle of the woods, and sometimes they're miles away from the group and trying to scout and do stuff like that. They can have animal companions and stuff like that, but generally. Okay, so we are moving on. That was the ranger, and now we're moving on to the rogue. He is the sneaky sneak. He's a scoundrel who uses stealth and trickery to overcome obstacles and foes. Yeah, rogue is your typical get in trouble type of fella. Yeah, so the rogue. The sorcerer, he is a spellcaster who draws from basically magic that has been bred into him. So like dragon blood in him or demon blood or some sort of spirit blood in him. He does have a limited... His spells are limited to how many he can have as compared to the wizard, which we'll talk about later, but that's the sorcerer for you. He doesn't have to carry a spell book around, he just knows his spells. The warlock, a wielder of magic that is derived from the bargain with an extraplanar entity. They're interesting. They're kind of a wizard sorcerer type, but they use their spells. They draw them from bad hombres. Bad, not necessarily bad, but different entities from different planes and stuff. And then last but not least is the wizard. The wizard. Like the Wizard of Oz, but better, right? He's a scholarly magic user capable of manipulating the structures of reality, and he has a huge amount of spells to choose from. They do have to carry a spell book around with them, but pretty much they come across a spell that's arcane in nature, and they can cast it. As long as they learn it. So that's it. That's your classes. If there are any questions or any comments or anything you want to know more about, please like the video and leave a comment below, and we will try to answer your questions to the best of our abilities. And yeah, so there we are. Anyway, until next time, my name is Scott. You call me Guff. Signing off.